Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we're going to be looking at one of the very, very best deck lists around at the moment. It is Tord Reklev's Garbodor Drampa deck list. Tord won the North American International Championships with this deck, albeit pre-rotation. He top cut Worlds with this deck, albeit pre-rotation, and he just got second place at Bremen Regionals with this exact list. I am not willing to believe there is a better Garbodor list out there. And when I say Garbodor, Golisopod Garbodor is really more of a Golisopod list. Garbodor with Drampa or Espeon, I consider more Garbodor. Feel free to argue in the comments. But this, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. It is great. Now, of course, we're using 4 TRUBBISH here, and why would we not be? The deck is built around Garbodor, and we use this TRUBBISH because Acid Spray, you can discard an energy. You don't want to be attacking with it, but sometimes it'll help you out of a bit of a jam. We're playing a 2-2 Garbodor split here. Now, some people go 3-1 one way or the other, but they're both too good. One blocks abilities, which is good against most of the top decks in the format. Vikavolt, Metagross, Gardevoir, all reliant on abilities. It's too good. But then you've got Trashalanche Garbodor, the one from Breakpoint. 20 damage for every item in their discard for a Psychic Energy. This builds up so quickly. It forces your opponent to really control what they're doing in terms of cards that they've played. And it's super difficult to keep that up for a whole game, ladies and gentlemen. Because even in those games where you're really conscious of not playing items, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to Sycamore away 3 or 4 items just to get set up, and that's when a deck like this pounces. 3 TAPU LELE is a little bit of a departure, because Tord was very much a fan of playing 4 TAPU LELE up until this tournament. But you'll see here he's getting a little bit greedy in this list. So you have to cut some corners somewhere. TAPU LELE is there for Wonder Tag. You need to make sure that you can get all of your supporters, and you need the right ones at the right time. So you've got to be playing multiple TAPU LELE. 2 Drampa GX. Drampa is just a great Pokemon here. It really here has got 2 great attacks. And that's if you don't use a GX attack, which you often will. Righteous Edge does 20 damage and discards a special energy. Against decks like Golisopod that really rely on special energy, this is great. But then you add a double colourless, so you got free energy on there. 150 if you've got any damage on your bench Pokemon. This is why you play Potown. More on that in a moment. So here, you've got a big attack that will take out pretty much all non-GXs. And you add a choice band, you're doing 180. A lot of GXs and EXs will be going down as well. It is a big, powerful attacker. Yeah, it's weak to Marshadow, but not that many people are playing Marshadow yet. And then, of course, you've got Big Wheel GX. Just shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 10 cards. It's not necessarily the best GX attack ever. It's not that amazing all the time. But if you've got nothing in your hand and you're about to lose the game, worst case scenario, your opponent plays an N, you get a new hand of 6. Best case scenario, they don't, and you get a hand of 10, which is awesome. Now, the thing that Tord's done, which is really a bit of a departure in this particular list, a 1-1 Espeon GX line. Now, generally, people used to play either Garbodor with Drampa or Garbodor with Espeon. Tord is really bucking the trend here and playing it with both. And why not? He's playing double colourless. He's playing Psychic Energy. He might as well. Psybeam, 30 damage plus Confusion. And, of course, we're also playing one of the Sun and Moon EEVEEs here, which means that you can evolve up straight away, attach a Psychic Energy, search your deck and evolve, and then be confusing from turn 1. Psychic does 60 damage plus 30 for each energy attached to the defending Pokemon. Something like a Tapu Bulu with free energy on, you add a choice badge, you're hitting 180. Not to mention how Gardevoir loves piling energy on. And then Divide GX. Put 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. Finish Pokemon off or start them off or hit those numbers. So let's say, for instance, you use Divide against a whole bunch of Greninja. If they break Evolve now, you can still one-hit KO with Drampa's Berserk, because usually you'd be 20 damage off. And then there's an Espeon EX in here as well. And here really, although you could, if you really felt so inclined, use Psyshock, really it's Miraculous Shine. You just evolve all of your opponent's Pokemon down a stage, and between all of your attackers and especially Divide, your goal here is just to do a bunch of damage to all of them, and then if you can't get the KO, you just evolve them. You don't need to do 230 damage to a Gardevoir to get the KO, you just need to do 80 damage so that when you devolve it down to a Kirlia, you will be getting a KO. It's a weird looking Pokemon list. It's kind of Garbodor, Drampa, Espeon, but you know what? It's really good, and Tord keeps winning. Now, in terms of energy, you got 5 Psychic Energy, which are important because they're the ones you use for both Garbodor and Espeon. 4 Double Colorless Energy that you use to do the bigger attacks with both Drampa and Espeon. And then, of course, 3 Rainbow Energy. Rainbow Energy is basically like Psychic Energy, but it damages your Pokemon. Why is this useful? Because of Drampa's Berserk. It's not the best way to get damage on your bench, because really you need to attach 2 energy to Drampa, then the Rainbow to your bench, so that's 3 attachments and turn 3 before you can use Berserk. But in a pinch, Rainbow Energy will do the job, although we've got a better idea. In terms of the trainers here, like basically every single deck at the moment, we're playing 4 Professor Sycamore and 4 N. These are the best cards in the format for providing consistency for drawing cards. Pretty much every deck list now plays 4 of each. This is not particularly unusual. 4 GUZMA, however, is. But GUZMA is such a powerful card. You need GUZMA at every opportunity. GUZMA brings a Pokemon off your opponent's bench and acts as a switch for you. GUZMA is superbly powerful. You need it at the right time. What playing 4 does with 3 TAPU LELE, it means you're likely going to have it when you need it. It is unlikely that you're going to go too many turns without it. But the thing is, if you have to play a Sycamore in the early game and discard 1 or 2, you'll still be okay, whereas if you're only playing 2, that will be bad. 1 Bridget. Bridget's here for a turn 1 wonder tag. Your Tapu Lele, grab the Bridget, grab your basics. In some games it will be prized. If it is, it is. But you've got a consistent deck here. It should be prized 1 in 10 games, and on that 1 in 10 game, you'll have to deal with it. 1 copy of HALA, and I like HALA here. HALA is a hand refresh card that gets you 7 new cards, which is a lot. And the best part is that you can then use those cards, and if your opponent ends you, then you get another free hand. It's not like Big Wheel where they can end you before you use the cards. But Big Wheel is the reason we have HALA. If you've got to Big Wheel in the early game, you then get the extra advantage of getting a lot of cards with HALA. It's lovely. 4 Ultra Ball, because Ultra Ball is the best Pokemon search we've got, and you need to grab your Pokemon. 2 Field Blower to get rid of stuff like Choice Band, Floatstone, Fighting Fury Belt, stopping your opponent doing their thing, stopping your opponent having extra HP with Fighting Fury Belt, sticking them in the active by getting rid of their Field Blower. 1 Rescue Stretcher, because you need to recover your Pokemon sometimes, and this is the best way to do it. 4 Floatstone, you need your tools for Garbodor, because Garbodor only blocks ability with a tool attached. So we need to play 4 Floatstone, 4 Choice Band. Floatstone is really good just to retreat your Pokemon anyway. Choice Band is really good to be doing extra damage, but because you're so reliant on having tools to turn on Garbodor, it's pretty important that you have 4 of each of them as well. And finally, 3 Potown. This is what I've been referencing all video when I've been talking about other options for getting damage on our Pokemon. We don't really want to use Potown. We don't really want to put 3 damage counters on our Garbodor when we evolve them, or on our Espeon GX when we evolve it. But we need damage on the bench to hit 150 with Berserk, so you know what? You gotta play Potown, because it's the reliable way to do it. You cannot get a turn 2 Berserk for 150 using Rainbow Energy, because you need to attach 2 energy, including a double colorless to Drampa, then a Rainbow to the bench. But you can do 2 energy on Drampa while evolving a Garbodor with Potown out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we play Potown. We'd rather not, to be honest. We don't want to put damage on our Pokemon, but we don't really got much of a choice, so we do it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Tord Reklev's Garbodor list, with which he got second at Bremen Regionals. Whenever you see a player like Tord just absolutely smashing tournament after tournament with the same list, you've got to sometimes think, is this the deck or is it the player? Is anyone else ever going to be as good with this deck as Tord? And the answer is, I don't know, but I think you should try it because this deck list is awesome. But I want to know what you think about it, so chuck it down in the comments. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.